Hi, I'm Tom Stimson and welcome to AV Matters. In this episode, we're going to talk about the top 10 out-of-control costs for rental and staging companies. So as I visit businesses and look at how they're doing, everybody wants to make more money, and we focus a lot on the revenue side. But making more money is really about profit, and most of the challenges I'm finding are really on the expense side. So let's talk about the most common places I find costs that are out of control. People haven't paid attention to them, and things have just gone a little bit screwy. Number one of our biggest cost centers is receivables. Yes, receivables. Every time somebody else is holding your money, it's costing you money. If you have a loan outstanding and someone else owes you money, then you can't pay that loan back. Okay? You're going to collect more interest and take longer to pay back that bill. Not having cash costs you money. It makes you work harder to manage the money that you do have when you're low on cash. So receivables become a huge cost center. We can fix the receivables problem or certainly improve it, often just by enforcing the terms that you already have. You don't have clients, most likely, that don't intend to pay you. If we just ask for the money, chances are we're going to get it. We can deal with deposits, we can ask for deposits, we can ask for credit card payments in advance, we can enforce the terms that we already have, or we can negotiate with the client to make sure that if they need a long-term payable to you, that we're getting what it's worth. Item number 2, square footage. Your building costs you money every single month, and while you can't reduce the cost of your rent or your mortgage payment, you can make better utilization of the space. Very often what I find in organizations is they have warehouse space in particular that creates inefficiencies. These inefficiencies force you to have extra labor, make things take longer, cause you to move things around more often, and very often create limitations to how you think about business that might prevent you from making money in the future. The solutions are often very simple. Sometimes it's just getting rid of junk. If you're a rental company, you have equipment you haven't rented in years, and it's sitting in your warehouse and you're working around it. Think about what that space costs and what you would do with that space if you have it. If you're not sure, ask your warehouse crew, they know. If you can put things in more logical spaces, you can create efficiencies in the workflow that will save you money and save you time. And this will add up over years. If you can save 5% of labor in terms of man hours, add that up over the course of a year. Do the math. Okay. Item number 3. Here's a good one, Telecom. In this day and age, you have to look at your telecom expenses every year to 2 years minimum. We have voice over IP, we have our internet, we have our cell phones. There's a lot of telecom expenses that we have. Sometimes they're bundled together and sometimes they're not. But the prices are moving down and the features are increasing at an exponential rate. If you haven't renegotiated all of your telecom in the past year, it's time to look at it right now. And we're seeing huge savings in this area, and it'll add up over time. And item number 4, accounting administration. I'm a big fan of making sure that we have the right number of folks in place. But what I find in accounting teams is either too few or too many people. Too many people means that we have too many processes and a lot of people who aren't doing enough things to keep business flowing along. If I have too few people, I have constraints and I'm not getting things done in time. Go back to item number 1, receivables. Okay? Not being able to manage our receivables and keep on top of our cash flow often comes from having too few or too many admin. Take a look at how things are getting done, understand what your goals are for that team, and make sure that you right-size it. Adding and subtracting labor to get the right mix will make all the difference in the world in how you do your accounting admin. Item number 5. This one's a favorite. Rental and staging companies. Having show staff in your warehouse to pick shows, do maintenance, anything of that nature is costing you money. It's costing you money in 2 important ways. Whenever your show staff is in the warehouse, they're not billable. They're not making money for you. They're an expense. They're a pure expense. Okay? And they do things less efficiently than a warehouse staff would. Not to mention they're much higher paid. So you've got to think about how can I keep my warehouse staff working efficiently, and one way to do that is keep the show staff out of the warehouse. If you take the show staff out of the warehouse and you find that they have too much time on their hands, then you have to consider the fact that you may have too many show staff. If you manage the level of your show staff correctly, you're going to have a certain amount of freelance staff that you need to finish projects and a certain amount of full-time staff to finish projects. You want to right-size the warehouse staff, right-size the show staff, and keep the very expensive, very talented, and very valuable show people out on shows where they belong. And watch, it'll save you money. Item number 6. Short staffing in the office. Here's my theory. On the busiest day of the year, when you have shows all over the country and you have business all around the city, you should have more people in your office than you do on the slowest day of the year when you have nothing going on. This is exactly opposite of how most of us operate. When we're real busy, we strip all the office staff out and we put them in trucks, we put them on shows, we stick them in the ballroom to try and do projects. Then I have no support back at the office to make things move efficiently, make sure that we can solve problems, make sure that our customer service is up to par at all times. You have to staff and manage and plan so that when you're busy, all your sales team, your leads in your warehouse, your operations team, at least one genius is in the building to support all the people who are out in the field. And when you're slow, make everybody go home. Take some vacation time. Go out and do some training. But you don't need as many people in the office when there's not much going on. Take advantage of those opportunities to get some downtime. Item number 7, travel, labor, logistics, subrentals. 3 major cost centers for events. These are above-the-line cost of goods sold items that you manage every single day. And you're probably doing a pretty good job on it, but if you are doing a 10% better job, that 10% goes straight to the bottom line. So focusing on these is probably mission critical for your business. And one way businesses do this and make sure they're maintaining focus is they centralize these activities. They have a person who's in charge of travel, a person who's in charge of subrental, another person who's for booking and scheduling labor. And these are great efficiencies, and they help coordinate things, and they can actually improve communication, but they don't always control costs, and here's why. We need, in those groups, to centralize the activity, but not the thinking. Centralizing the activity is good for control, but the thinking has to be at the management level. And we need to make sure that our teams that are doing travel and doing trucking and doing labor and doing subrentals are taking direction from management about what's the right policy and what's the right approach. We want to make sure that they're making decisions in context of what the entire company is doing and not this individual transaction. The downside of not having management keep these areas scrutinized is we develop silos. And when we have silos in labor, for instance, we tend to hire the same people over and over again without necessarily considering are they the right person for the job. And we don't negotiate as well because we're always hiring our friends. On the travel side, we get comfortable looking at our resources and buying from the same places because it's quick and it's easy, but it's not always the most cost effective. So we want to make sure that the decisions and the scrutiny remain with management so that we can capture that extra 10% that we need to get out of these expenses. Item number 8, trucking and delivery. I just spoke about trucking and logistics as one of our cost centers, but I want to take a different look at it. Trucking is a capacity that you have in your organization. It's actually an overhead cost. If you own vehicles and maintain drivers, the vehicle is an overhead and the driver is a direct expense. And we tend to believe that because we have these resources that they're free. And throwing in a delivery and running across town for a customer doesn't cost you anything. But in fact, that capacity is extremely expensive. It's also extremely valuable. We don't charge enough for it. And while I'm focused on the expense side, this is a good time to remind you to make sure that you're charging the right things as well. Customers are not as price sensitive about deliveries as you think they are because they know what it costs if they have to call someone else to get a delivery done. So take a look at how you manage your deliveries. Make sure you're efficient in getting all the people out into the field as quickly as possible, that your vehicles are maintained and up to date and can drive at highway speeds. These are important things that get overlooked in the company over time. Item number 9, subrentals. I can't emphasize subrentals enough. Subrentals are important because they help you with your capital expenditures, they help you with your planning, they determine whether or not you're going to make money in the long run that's going to develop the equity of your company. Subrentals are an important part of your business because it's necessary. You can't run a rental production company without getting involved in subrentals or cross-rentals in some way. If you don't ever need to subrent or cross-rent, that means you own too much equipment. If you subrent or cross-rent too much, that means you don't own enough equipment and you're not making the money you could be making. So subrental scrutiny is extremely important. Think about the design of your equipment in terms of subrental. As you build packages and systems for your company, you're going to design them into cases that have to match what you can source from other subrental suppliers. It's not that you can't put your own unique bent on how you package your equipment, but you do have to be practical and know that you're going to run out of anything that you have on any given day. We have to look at subrentals more as just a means to get extra equipment when we run out or we sell something we don't already own. Subrentals are a critical strategic task that we have to meld into everything else that we do. Your subrental strategy is going to affect your CapEx strategy. It's going to affect your cash management strategy. It's going to affect your sales strategy. So it deserves an awful lot of attention. One of the things that we have to consider in subrentals is how we design our systems. As you buy equipment and put it into service, you have to think about how you're going to get extra equipment when you need it. So you want to design with that in mind. Am I going to be able to rent parts and pieces to complete a system the way that I package it? Or am I going to have to be able to rent complete packages to match the way that I package? So subrental is a strategy, and it needs management scrutiny, like I said before. So management needs to look at where are we putting our subrentals? Are we using the best resources to make the most money, and are we subrenting for the right projects? And if it's a first come, first serve environment, I can tell you right now that you can probably save 20 or 30% on subrentals by moving your equipment around to where it best serves your bottom line. So don't forget to think about subrentals strategically. And item number 10, damaged equipment. We damage equipment all the time. It happens. We drop things off a truck, tripods fall over, things get pushed on, scratched, beat up, and it's part of what goes with our business. How we manage damaged equipment can save us money. You need to be able to repair, you need to be able to service, but you've also got to make good decisions about how you do this. The less time something is out of service, the more opportunity it has for you to make money. Repair is about triage. You repair the things that need to be fixed right away. Even if you have to send them out and pay extra to get them back, in the long run, you will make more money if you don't have to subrent something. So you offset the cost of a repair with the cost of a subrental and an expedited shipping. So think about damaged equipment and what it does to you. Some damaged equipment doesn't need to be repaired at all. Again, we need management oversight here to make strategic decisions. Sometimes things should just be thrown away because it costs more to fix them than it does to replace them. So damaged equipment is also a strategy. We want to do everything we can to avoid damaged equipment. Cases. How you spend money on cases tells an awful lot about your organization. You can buy inexpensive cases, or you can buy really expensive ones that'll last a long time and protect the equipment extremely well. So think about your casing strategy when you're thinking about damaged equipment, and you'll probably have less damaged equipment. So those are our top 10 out-of-control costs we find in rental and staging companies. I hope you'll take a look at your organization and see if there's a way you can put more money to your bottom line. I'm Tom Stimson. Thanks for watching.